You know what, Sam?
What?
Even though we lost, it was fun going on the road for a game.
I bet it was. So after a week of just hearing me for a couple episodes, you finally get Sam Driscoll back. How does it feel
They,
to be back, Sam?
Sam, I'm just glad for the listeners they don't have to hear just you anymore.
Rude, 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 rude.
They needed me. They missed me. They're glad I'm back. They can cover you up now and just watch my beautiful face.
You remember that little girl from the show Full House?
Maybe.
How rude. Hopefully, I'm allowed to say that, but it's too late now. So, um, Sam, how was Minnesota? I did
Minnesota was
mention it in a previous episode that you were at the Minnesota game.
Yes. It was awesome. I liked the stadium. My only complaint really about the Wild Arena is the upper level is steep. So it goes up really fast and at a very steep angle on the corners. I don't like that very much. But the game atmosphere is great. They don't pump any crowd noise into the arena. Um, but it's nice. It was a great stadium. I went with my girlfriend and we had fun. Her team won, so she was thrilled. I had to walk out of there the loser, but I will say this: I will say this about Wild fans: they're all really nice. I wore my Brindamore jersey, and they all were like, "Hey, they loved the Brindamore jersey." Everyone was like, "I love the jersey, love Rod, great player, you know." Nice jersey, classic. Yeah, I got a lot of compliments, unsolicited compliments. There were some other Hurricanes fans there. I think I may have ran into a family member of Jackson Blake's actually.
Wow.
So yeah, one of them was like, yeah, one of the players is a cousin, and I'm guessing that must have been Blake, given he's from the western part of that state, or he was born in North Dakota, but.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty cool. So I think I probably ran into one of his cousins and chatted with her briefly. But great, 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 great atmosphere and fun stadium. I look forward to many more games in Minnesota and other arenas as well because it's fun to hit the road with the team.
I bet it is. And I bet it's better if you use a promo code with SeatGeek, right, Sam?
Yes, SeatGeek. If you want to try and go to some road games, home games, whatever game you want to, concerts coming up on summertime soon, and spring concerts, all that stuff, use promo code Keniac Report and you'll get a $20 off your first purchase on SeatGeek, because why would you choose to leave money on the table, Sam?
Exactly. It's a great, great deal. Also, just curious too. I know you got a new computer recently. Are you using that for
I
this
am not
episode?
using that right now.
What? Oh
I did
man.
not want to set it up for this one because I just got back. It's still packed. I hadn't pulled it out yet, but I'm gonna pull it out for the next one because I got to get set up and get me logged into StreamYard. I figured we'll just make it easy on ourselves and
Yeah.
use the one that's already set up.
Yeah. I was just curious if you were using it or not. But another thing too, for those listening, remember to hit like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, and be sure to give us a follow, hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode. And if you're listening to us on the traditional podcast side of things, be sure to leave a rating, a review. Hopefully, the review's good and the rating. We're not going to be a huge fan of 1 stars unless you try to be very constructive. But please, it helps us out. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
So, and we also have a link for donations too. So if you feel like you want to donate, there's a link to that in both our YouTube and our episode descriptions on the traditional podcast stuff. And Sam, not much happened in the NHL, but there are a couple things I wanted to say. One, Zach Werenski from Columbus set a record. Fourth longest streak in the NHL by a defenseman to get a point in 20 straight home games.
Mm.
He joined quite a good company. Bobby Orr was there that I saw, and there were a few other defensemen. I'm trying to remember which
I I've
other
been a little
defensemen.
off the grid the last week, so I'm not sure.
Um, yeah,
Oh,
the
but
other
I'll also say this too, Sam. I'll be going to see, speaking of like all-time great players and stuff like that and records, I will be going to see Washington play Pittsburgh. So I will get to see for the first time in person the Alex Ovechkin Sidney Crosby rivalry in Pittsburgh after the Four Nations face off.
I bet that'll be fun. Um, I don't know if he'll hit the goal record yet though.
No, 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 probably not in that game. Uh, but it's more like just to see the Crosby Ovechkin Pittsburgh Caps rivalry would be pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I was able to bring up the list of defensemen, Sam, and he is in good company. Bobby Orr, Paul Coffey, and Phil Housley. Those
Wow.
are good defensemen.
Excellent defenseman. Excellent defenseman.
Yeah, and Zach Werenski, I think he's one. I think he's the best player in Columbus, to be honest.
Yeah, Zach Werenski's one of the better players that they've got up there. But in general, Columbus is having a good season when you compare the roster to what their record is. They're they're playing, but they're playing for something more, and I think a lot of that is contribute. Can contribute to their success. So they're playing really well, and I would love to see them make the playoffs, but we'll have to wait and see.
It's a
If
tight
so,
race,
it
Sam.
is a tight race, but if they make it, Werenski's a big part of why.
Yep, it definitely is. And another thing too, Sam, because this is dealing with a former Hurricane, I just want to throw this out there. But the Penguins put Jesse Puljujärvi on waivers for contract termination. So
Yeah, I
didn't work
saw
out
that.
in Pittsburgh.
No, it did not. That was interesting because I thought he had a decent start to the season.
Yep, but he apparently they just soured on him and they just like, nope, time to go. And for a team in Pittsburgh, Sam, that I think Kyle Dubas is actually doing a decent job of trying to kind of rebuild. I would say
Yeah.
probably retool. He's trying to get young players in. So
Yeah, and he's doing a pretty decent job at that. The problem is he doesn't have a lot of assets that are easily movable, right? Like your best movable players are Malkin and Letang, and it's just hard to move those contracts because
yeah,
because the ones that were signed weren't very team friendly; they were very player friendly.
they were. And also another thing too, speaking of Malkin, and this goes with Crosby as well, they're both injured. And
Yeah.
I remember the hockey guy saying this, but he said, I'm saying with Crosby and Malkin being out, so you look at that top six of top remainder of the six forwards
You don't
in
have
Pittsburgh,
anybody.
it's not, they don't have anyone. It's
No,
bad.
they need some top six guys, and I mean we'll see. I think Crosby's good enough to go for the Four Nations, so
Yes.
at least I haven't seen that he's going to miss it yet.
Yeah, I think he's good to go too. But Sam, that does bring us to us now talking about the Hurricanes here. Obviously, both Aho and Ranson got a little bit hurt after the Minnesota game because
Yep.
of block shots. Now, eventually, Aho did return for the
Yep.
Utah game, but Ranson did not. But this is how I'm tying this into Four Nations. Ranson is on his way to represent Team Finland at Four Nations, which to me is good news.
Yeah, you want him to play. It's big to go play in games like that. I'm excited for those. I'm looking forward to watching all those games, and I know you and I will probably watch them as often as we can. Fortunately, they're actually at good times. The benefit of this versus like the Olympics is we can watch these games. Because
Yep.
the Olympics are all going to be at awkward and weird times, but these are going to be at 7 o'clock and then like noons on Saturdays and stuff. But because I was looking at the schedule for the games, and it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, it will. And I'm sure us Hurricane fans, even though we're probably, I would say, mostly going for the U.S. team, probably keeping an eye on Team Finland too, just because we have Aho and Rantanen. I would say it's pretty likely to see both of them on the same line together. Wouldn't you agree, Sam?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we'll see what all that's going to look like. I'm curious. Who do you think's going to win it all?
Uh, I'm really liking US team.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm really liking that
I
team.
think Finland could surprise people.
Finland's had a few injuries,
They
so
have, they have. I still
that's
think they're going to
why
be.
I'm like,
I could see them being sneaky good.
yeah, they could, but my eye is on Team US. I am going for Team US just because it's my country. I'm
Yeah,
going for them. So, uh,
but we also will be cheering for Hurricanes players to do well
yes.
because
And speaking
we're
of a Hurricanes
represented on
player,
all of the teams except for Sweden,
yep,
Canada,
we
U.S., and Finland.
yeah, you have Slavin on Team US and Seth Jarvis on Team Canada. So a lot of Hurricanes representation, Sam. I love it.
Oh yeah, no, it's great to see a lot of Hurricanes being represented. That's why it's a lot nicer than the All Star game.
Yes, it definitely is. And another thing too, this happened after the Utah game, and I wasn't surprised seeing this, but Canes assigned both Scott Morrow and Juha Jaska to the AHL so that they can get some games in during this 2 week break. And Sam, obviously bringing up Scott Morrow, what have
Yep.
you thought of his game recently?
I've loved Scott Morrow. I thought he's played really well. He's not, it's limited. He hasn't played a lot, but I thought he really played well against Utah, and he had a couple of really good moments. Right now, I like Orlov's game. I wouldn't mind seeing a little more of Morrow. Just more evidence that Orlov and Burns should not come back next year. Like it's becoming pretty evident that Morrow's ready to play in the NHL. And if you're going to complain, whine, and cry that Morrow will get exposed if he has more minutes, well, what the heck do you think's been happening to Brent Burns and Dmitry Orlov over the last few weeks? They've been really getting exposed. So might as well go younger and let these guys develop some. So uh, Morrow's definitely ready to play in the NHL. If it doesn't happen this year, again, it's contract reasons. You have Orlov and Burns under contract, and Burns has been playing better of late. And
Yes.
yeah, I mean, it gives me optimism for the blue line next season because you can inject youth in that blue line by letting Orlov and Burns go. You can add Morrow and Nikishin in, and you get a lot of youth there, some speed, and people who can skate. Because I think you're losing two defensemen who can't skate well.
Yeah. Well, and it just happens to be it's either Orlov or Burns. Now, granted, like you are going to have slumps. It's an
Sure.
82 game. You are, but at the same time, I just think it'd be beneficial both possibly short term and long term if you just didn't resign both Burns and Orlov, and you have Nikishkin and Morrow take their place because that shows that there is that this defense is going to be good not just now but in the future.
Plus, you'll start to alienate people like Morrow, who signed who signed a contract to play in the NHL, not the American Hockey League.
And I mean, I remember when Morrow played in the preseason, and I I do think Sam, I think he has improved
Oh
from
yeah.
playing now since the preseason. I think his skating has gotten better. I remember watching him preseason. I don't think his skating was that good, but I do think he has improved. I definitely see a NHL defenseman in him, Sam.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Might have lost you.
You too. All right, there you are. I was just saying, I think Morrow is going to be one of the power play quarterbacks for this team eventually. I think that's probably what the team views him as.
Yep. And I mean, it's going to be interesting because you also have Ghost too, Sam. There's going to be a lot of firepower, I think, on that blue line. And
Yes.
this team, I would say, kind of needs it because if you want to point out the oddities of this season, we haven't really had that big offensive defenseman because Burns, his offense has dropped from last year and definitely from the year before. I mean, yes, Ghost has been playing good, but I mean, you can tell his point production has kind of gone down a bit from the start of the season. So they definitely need it, in my opinion. So that's pretty much it for us talking about Scott Morrow. And another thing too, I want to talk about. For one thing, Sam, is Hurricanes are going into this break.
Yep.
Just kind of want to take a look at where they are. Obviously, I think they need this break just because of the turbulence on two levels. One, a shock level because of the trade, and second, from an illness perspective because there
Yeah.
is an illness going on.
Yeah. You view it as a perfect time for the team to for the players to get healthy. Team to get healthy, whatever minor little injuries are kind of lingering around. The hope is that those go away, the flu bug goes away, you come back, you're ready to go. I view this as Aho and Rantanen, I hope play together in this tournament. Benefits, maybe their chemistry some when they come back. And then we can see Rantanen really start to light it up and we can get a contract done with him. But the more I think about it, the more I don't think Rantanen signs here. I think he's going to want to go somewhere that values skill a little bit more and lets him play a little bit more. And even if you don't think that's a system thing, why he wouldn't be, he's not playing nearly as much as he did in Colorado. He's going to want to play more, and if we're not playing him, you're not going to not going to play here, right? I mean, that's just basic reality. If we're not going to play you, why as much? Why not go somewhere where you could do it? But I mean, we'll see. I'm going to choose to believe we won't re-sign him, and then if we do, then I'll be thoroughly surprised and happy, right? Have the low expectations instead of the high expectations if the deal gets done. But as of the Four
So the whole
Nations,
thing with
Aho
Rantanen,
Rantanen playing together, I think is a good thing. I think that can build chemistry and maybe even give them time to talk, and maybe Aho can convince him to stay.
yeah. I mean, my whole thing with Rantanen, right now, I'm leaning toward he's not going to resign. But at the same time, we're only 5 games in. He's only played 5 games with us. And I think because of that, I don't think there needs to be an overreaction of him not signing with us because you never know. After this 2-week break could really help the Hurricanes to the point where Rantanen really, really does kick it off. And it does take time. I do think, I mean, we saw it with Burns and Orlov when we first got them. It took them time to get settled in. So I think the best thing from a Hurricanes perspective is to give it time. And I mean, do you trade him at the trade deadline if you don't to get a contract done with him?
The argument I've made is if you trade him, if you trade him, you have to trade him for another forward that's of equal value. And I think the closest you're going to get to that is Marner. And I think that's a deal that Toronto could sink their teeth into. If they're like, all right, we're not getting Marner done. We're not getting Rantanen done. Then we're both like, hey, why don't we give each other a shot at Rantanen and Marner? Yeah. So then you just swap 1 for 1, make it even. I think they're pretty equivalent in the skill and value right there. I think Marner might be a tad bit more of a goal scorer than Rantanen is. And I think Marner's a little smaller. But, I mean, if you can get that deal done, I mean, why not? Especially if it's like, okay, Toronto can't sign Marner. But maybe Rantanen wants to go to Toronto, or even not. It's like, all right, we're both trying to win a cup. Let's, we know we're not getting these current players signed. Let's try this. And they swap Marner and Rantanen and see what we can get done there. Rantanen probably comes in at a lower number.
Well, honestly, the way he's been playing right now, he ain't going to get 14 million.
No, I meant Marner is probably going to come in at a lower number than Rantanen. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. A lot of it, I think, has to do with. I mean, he could have been sick too.
I'm willing to give him more time. I just am.
It's an awkward time that he joined the team. We'll see if we actually ever get the deal done. But if there's not a deal in place at the deadline, do I trade him? I think you listen and see what other teams are offering. I think
you gave up quite a bit to get him.
You do, but you don't trade Rantanen for nothing either. You don't, unless you're getting an equivalent haul back. You might as well keep him as a rental. Trade him at the draft and get a third or whatever. You never know what that can turn into. Look at Nikishin. He was like a 4th or something like that, I think, right? Or he wasn't a 1st. So that's what I do. You don't go out and trade Rantanen for like thirds and fourths at the deadline. That's a draft day kind of move, and you use him as a rental. But if you can turn him into Marner or other players that are roster players that are under contract, or you can get a deal done. Yeah, I mean, I consider it, but
I
if
don't
I'm the
think they
team,
trade him though. I just don't think they do at trade deadline.
um, yeah,
That's my gut feeling.
I think if they do, it's like I said, it would be a Marner situation here where it's like, all right, Toronto and Carolina both agree we can't get our players signed. It just won't happen. Why don't we take jabs at our other respected, I'll take a jab at Ranton, you take a jab at Marner. Let's swap and we'll go from there. That I
Yeah,
could see happening more as a, like, hey, let's see if we can make this happen a different way.
yeah, I could see that. And obviously, besides the whole Rantanen thing, I expect this team to be a little, hopefully, be a little bit better goaltending wise, just because ever since Anderson's been back, I don't think he's been at his best. Kachekov. I mean, we'll talk about the Utah game, but there are still concerns that I have with him. And we also talked about Orlov and Burns as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
hope that I think this is going to be a good break, but it really depends on how they spend this break. So, now
Yes.
we're going to get to a sponsor, and then we'll recap the one and only game, which is the win against Utah, the much needed win. So, let's go ahead and get to our sponsor. This NHL season has been as predictable as a puck rolling on its edge. No one knows where it's going, but that just means there's time for your favorite team to figure things out, and games left for you to get in the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. NHL and NHL team marks are the property of the NHL and its teams. NHL 2025, all rights reserved. Okay, Sam, the Utah game. This
Yes.
was a much, much better game.
Much needed win before the
Yeah,
break.
yeah, because I mean, imagine if we lost against Utah, Sam. I mean, that's 4 losses in a row,
Yeah.
and you don't want to go into a break with that. You just don't.
Nope. You can't go into a break like that. Not when you're as good as team as Carolina is. You get a much needed win. It was a sloppy game, to
Yeah,
be fair. We outscored our goaltending problem. We outscored our Orlov problem. And the better roster won the game. I think that's really the story of the
we were
game.
just a better team compared to Utah.
Yeah. And Pamelka just had a bad game.
Yeah, he did.
After the first period, he had a bad game.
Yep. But in that first period, Sam, only 2 goals were scored. You had Chatfield from scoring from Stahl and Svechnikov. It was a 2-on-1 chance. Stahl passes it to Chatfield. Great timing on the pass, and Chatfield just roofs it 1-0. Carolina is feeling good. They're up 1-0 against Utah. And I mean, the biggest thing to me is that they got a goal just because their offense has kind of hit a wall before the Utah game.
Yeah.
But eventually, Carolina goes on the penalty kill. And now, am I concerned about the penalty kill? No, I'm not, because I still think we have one of the best.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, against Winnipeg, it wasn't good, and this game it could have been a little bit better. But obviously, on the power play, you have um, Doan scoring, and this is not Shane Doan. This is Josh Doan, I believe is his name. That's the son of
Yep.
Shane Doan. He
Yep.
scores.
Yep.
And to me, that's the goal that Kachekov really needs to have.
Yes.
Really, really needs to have. I was like, oh, that's bad.
And what sucks is we say that almost every game that Kochetkov plays.
I know. And I'm telling you, if we lose, I could see it being a goaltending problem once again, Sam.
Yeah.
Really could. But 1-1 in the second period, it was all chaotic. Really was. You have Jarvis scoring from Burns and Svechnikov on a power play goal. What a shot from Jarvis, who I think played his best game of the season this game.
Yeah, Jarvis was on fire all night. I thought that line in general was really, 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 really good. Blake or Aho and Jarvis have been very good together, and I hope that they stay together. I'm hoping that line becomes Jarvis, Aho, Rantanen. I think that's going to be a heck of a line. I'm not meaning it as a demotion for Blake as much as Rantanen's obviously the better player.
And Jarvis, too. I
Yeah.
mean, I love Blake, but Jarvis is a better player.
Yeah, and I think Blake getting bumped to the second line is not a bad thing either.
Or have him play with Stahl or Martinook.
Sure. I like to see Jarvis, Aho, Rantanen, I think is a good top line.
It is. And I'm hoping we see that more after this 2-week break. But great power play goal, Sam, because it was a power play goal, and our power play has been majorly just been disturbingly bad.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that. But again, it's against Utah, so you probably should score. And then you have Aho scoring. It was a gift basket from Vejmelka. And I told my dad this because I was at the game with my dad. I told him, see, he has some Canes loyalty, which is why we should get him. Because even though he didn't play well that game, I'm like, maybe we could get him in the future. But
I mean, having a bad game every now and then is fine. That's just life. It is every game you're letting in like 1 to 2 bad goals. I mean, also in Vejmelka's defense, we weren't exactly, making it easy on him all game either.
No, we weren't. But boy, that goal that he gave to Aho, oof, he tried to flush it out, and Aho's like, "Thank you."
What did Steve Dangle always say? If you're a goaltender, tend the goal.
Tend the goal. Yep, exactly. And he did not there. So it is 3-1 Carolina. And when it was 3-1, Sam, I was like, okay, Kane should win this, and they eventually did. But there was somewhat of a scare because you had Orlov, who got the puck at the top of the offensive zone, right on that blue line there, and he fumbles the puck with their captain Clayton Keller, and Keller just used how he was amazing. I thought that game, but Keller, he just showed how good he can be on that breakaway, and I don't blame Kochetkov on that goal just because I thought he just showed it was more of Keller showing how good he was.
Yeah, well, Keller's the best player on that roster, and he's their captain, and he's an excellent player.
But that's more on Orlov. That chance right there is more on him than it is on Kochetkov.
Well, yeah, it doesn't happen if Orlov, is playing better, and the problem is Orlov's just not been playing well.
No, he has not. But I thought his partner, though, had, along with Jarvis, I thought he was one of the best players of the game, Chatfield.
Yeah,
I thought
Chatfield
he was
was
excellent.
really good game. Probably his best game as a Hurricane, to be 100% honest with you.
Yes. Oh my gosh, he was just playing fantastic. But Carolina was able to regain their footing. You had Ajos again scoring from Jarvis and Chatfield. That was a shorthanded goal for the
Yep.
record because Jarvis was able to. I mean, he had two Utah players on him, and he was able to get a pass to Aho. He just was able to put it right behind Pamilka's pads. Great goal. And then Jarvis somehow gets a breakaway off of a face-off, and then he scores again. So it's crazy. Not only that, but toward the end of that second period, things got a little bit intense, a little bit physical, because a couple of whacks at Kachekov, you don't want to do that because he got heated,
Yeah.
and there was that close, Sam, that close to being a goalie fight.
Yeah, I saw the clip of the two goaltenders skating to the skate to the center ice, and I was like,
I was laughing though.
yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, this is finally going to happen. But I really think if Kochekov ends up fighting a goalie, it's probably going to be Bennington.
Oh yeah, I could totally see that, but that'd be entertaining. Nonetheless, it would be. Another thing too that happened, Blake kind of got hit up high by I can't remember the Utah player's name, but he got hit up high.
Yeah.
I thought it was a clean hit, to be honest. I didn't think it was like a dirty hit or anything. But Burns didn't like that. I don't know if you saw that, Sam. And he
I got
kind
it.
of
I did see it. I went to lunch shortly, I think, after that.
oh, okay.
So I
But
missed
yeah,
some of the game. I didn't get all of it. I missed some of it because
yeah,
we
because
had reservations.
yeah. But Burns, man, he did not like that hit, and
Nope.
he just was like, I mean, did I think he did much of it? No, but I like the effort. I mean, he's your
For
rookie,
sure.
and Burns stood up. Could have been maybe a little bit better, but I like that from Burns. It's one of those penalties that
Yep.
I'm actually okay with. You know, like
Yeah, you stood up for your team. It's the exact opposite issue that Buffalo's having, right? Because Buffalo, no one stood up for Tage Thompson when he got
nope.
rocked, and the team did not like that very much. The ownership and the management and the coaching didn't like it, so they had a meeting about it.
Yeah, and I'm happy the Hurricanes aren't dealing with any apathy
Yeah.
issues because it shows that the players in that locker room really care for each other, and I really, really, really like seeing that from Burns. Um, but boy, you do not want to take Burns off. I don't want to take Burns off. He's a big guy.
Nope. No. He's a big dude, scary dude.
Yes, and in the third period, Sam, Utah got a 5-on-3 power play. I the first penalty I did not like. The second one, I was like, okay, yeah, that's a trip on Aho. Okay, whatever. But the first penalty, I can't remember which one of our players it was. Might have been Burns, who was called for a high stick, and I did not see any high stick on the jumbotron. So I don't know what they were looking at, but I didn't see anything. Did
I
you
mean, I
see
didn't see
anything
that call.
or?
No,
Okay,
no. This is at this point. I didn't catch any of the third. I got most. I watched the whole first, most of the second, and then I missed the last bit of the second and and all of the third.
okay, alrighty. But 5-on-3, I mean Utah. I still think they have a really good offense, and if you provide them a 5-on-3 chance, they're gonna score, Sam. And yeah, Keller scored a blazing shot. But to me, that's a shot that Kochetkov needs to have. It went right next to his glove. And I'm just like, you kind of need to save that. But um, so, so that kind of raised some concerns for us Hurricane fans. We're like, oh no.
Yeah.
But it provided an opportunity for possibly a hat trick on either Aho or Jarvis. And some Hurricane fans, Sam, thought that it was one of them that scored, but it was ultimately Martinuk that scored on the empty net goal. And I mean, probably to the casual fan, you probably I mean, you probably saw Aho right next to Martin. I'd be like, "Oh, Aho scored!" I'm throwing my hat down because I saw hats being thrown down, Sam, when Martin scored. I'm sure Martin was like, "What are you guys doing?" That was my first goal of the game, and then I was like, "I thought Martin scored. What? It wasn't Aho or Jarvis, was it?" And it was Martin. So hats were thrown on the ice for no reason. Isn't that funny, Sam?
Yes.
Oh, us Hurricane fans.
That was I heard about that and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of funny."
I mean, Aho was right next to Martinook, but it was just funny because he didn't score. But I'm sure Martinook appreciated the hat throwing.
I'm sure he did. He probably got a laugh out of it.
Yeah, he probably did. He laughs at everything. And then Sam, Hurricanes did not stop after that. And I was a little bit shocked with this, but Rozovic scores from a rebound from Blake, and Yaska gets a point as well. So, good goal from Rozovic, and I mean, it was a beating a bit, 7-3. And I told my dad, what? We were 3 goals away from 10. Come on.
You keep getting close. You got close a couple times this year, Sam.
The Boston one, we were really close, Sam. I was having my hopes up.
Yeah,
And
I
I
know
was like,
you were.
no.
It was close. That was the closest we ever got to it.
Yep. But that's all she wrote. And now the Canes are on a 2-week break.
Yep.
Obviously, on this 2-week break, you will get first, you'll get the 2-part episode of us doing our midterm grades. And then the last episode before break is going to be the Eric Stahl episode, which we are currently doing right now. We already have a couple interviews
Yep.
done under the belt. So it's going to be fun, Sam.
Yeah. Eric Stahl is a great player, and we're glad we get to honor him this way.
Yes, definitely. So we will see you guys Friday.